From Santo Domingo to Nueva York, it's Fabian perspective, so expect it and accept it. Here with some friendly fire on ALLBALL TV. Let's get right into this, man. Renowned basketball writer Bob Ryan called Shaq not only overrated, he said he's not top 20 all time.
Does Shaq deserve to be on a top 10?
He's 15 to 20 if he's lucky. I mean, he's overrated too.
I think he's 15 to 20 for sure.
Oh, yeah. You know, my objection is Shaq was my but on Shaq is his indifference to rebounding. And he never led the league in rebounding. That is just an amazing thing. Yeah, I know he played up against Rodman. You know, Rodman was leading the league in rebounding every year. Well, you're 7 foot. You're athletic as all hell. You're strong. You got every attribute athletically that a man could be given, starting with that size and good feet, agility. And what's the number one rule of rebounding? Number one rule. You want the damn ball or don't you? Number one is you want the ball. Go fucking get it. Excuse me. Go get it. And then comes all the other stuff, positioning, timing, and and hold your position. And then the last and least important is jumping. So, no, Shaq, the fourth best center to me is Olajuwon. He's the fourth best center. After the obvious.
What are you going, Kareem, Wilt, Russell, Olajuwon?
Yeah, and then I go Olajuwon. And then I'll allow Shaq to enter into the discussion, but he's not beating out Olajuwon. I'm sorry,
I can't wait till we tweet this clip to Shaq on Twitter, Gary.
This is nothing I haven't said and written 100 times. Is indifference to rebounding, and that's a very important part of. Can't be the greatest center if you don't want to rebound.
Now, my problem with this is I gotta shoot the messenger, man. I gotta shoot the messenger. I can keep the message, but I shall shoot the messenger. Who the hell does Bob Ryan think he is? I think Shaq is a bit overrated in the sense that he was the most dominant player we've ever seen. But we know what Kobe said about him. I always stress that. No, he didn't lead the league in rebounding. So, it wasn't just Rodman that was around. It was a bunch of 7-footers. The greatest 7-footers in the history of the game. Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Tim Duncan came later on after that. Pause. Rick Smits, Dikembe Mutombo. There's no era with 7-footers like this. This is like the 90s was a wet dream to what people like Bob Ryan talk about. He, like Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, did not play against the same 7-footers that Shaq played against. It's the same critique we have about Joker today. The Joker did not play against those guys in the 90s. That's always going to be my thing when we say, Shaq is overrated. He didn't have the motor that Kobe did and Michael Jordan did, but who does? Like LeBron does in terms of working out, but even he doesn't execute night in, night out like Michael Jordan did. And even Kobe didn't. Who is on this level? Hakeem Olajuwon at his peak is the most skilled center of all time. Bill Russell is not on Hakeem Olajuwon's level. Hakeem Olajuwon is the best center of all time in his peak. Best. There's nothing better than that. Defensively, go look at the tape. He's guarding 1 through 5 legit. He's the guy that nobody ever mentions when we talk about 1 through 5. Hakeem Olajuwon becomes underrated in a sense. But he lacked discipline early on in his career. He was going crazy, getting kicked out of a finals game. He possibly cost the Rockets a finals against the Celtics. Right? He got kicked out of a finals game. So Shaq consistently was undisciplined. I get that. But I can go on and on about this, right? Like, that's part of the reason why Joel Embiid, he can't be in a conversation with Shaq and Hakeem Olajuwon. You can't even dominate this era without the 7-footers. And I know it's a different pace and space era and everything like that. but you don't get the ball out of your hands like Joker does. That's part of Embiid's problem. Shaq eventually learned how to become a great passer with Mr. Bob Ryan, as I mentioned that. Shaq is probably one of the best big man passers ever. For a guy that size, we've never seen a guy that size move like that. Pause. Right? Move like that. Just a gazelle. Just look at a young Shaq. Also, let's get into Bob Ryan's history. Bob Ryan returned to ESPN today after a suspension. Of all the ESPN suspensions on which we have reported, this latest one seems to have been done very quietly. It dates back to January 6th when Bob Ryan went on the Dan Le Batard show. Ryan was asked about ESPN analyst Mark Jackson's performance as the coach of the Golden State Warriors. This is what Bob Ryan said on the Dan Le Batard show. In 2016, I am on record, thank God, publicly saying 2 years ago, I looked at the NBA, I looked at the rosters and what was going on and said, the most talented team 1 through 8, at least in the NBA, is the Golden State Warriors. They're okay, but I know that they can do better. I know if they had a real coach, not some phony, Bible-pounding phony that Mark Jackson is when he isn't even a legitimate Bible pounder, I know that they'll be better off. Dan Le Batard tried to take Ryan off the hook, said, hey, Bob, that was savage, what you just did, a legitimate Bible pounder. But Ryan was having none of it, calling Jackson a con man. Yeah, because he's a phony. That's all. Well, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And I can't believe they took him back on the broadcast. Oh my God, he's a con man, and he's done very well at it. I'll give him credit for being a great one. That did not sit well with ESPN management. It promptly suspended Ryan 2 days later, offering the usual terse statement. Bob's comments were inappropriate and personal. We have addressed it with him. He recognizes he was wrong. And that would be great if that was the end of this guy's history. On ABCnews.com, 2002. Now, you see, ABC News was great on reporting this because why? They didn't cover the NBA Finals in 2002. Bob Ryan suspended 1 month for smack talk. Sports columnist Bob Ryan was suspended by the Boston Globe for 1 month without pay after saying on television that the wife of New Jersey Nets guard Jason Kidd, who was allegedly the victim of domestic abuse, needed someone to smack her. Bob Ryan made the following comments on WZTV Sports Final Show. Jason Kidd should expect taunts from the crowd. Then he criticized Jason Kidd for using their son as a prop and called Jumana Kidd an exhibitionist. In a comment that was not picked up clearly on tape, he said, oh, great, she needs blank to smack her. At that point, Lobel interrupted, saying, you can't say that. What's happening here? You know what? I will give you a mulligan on that. Ryan retorted, I'm not looking for that. Lobel persisted, saying, you just don't want to smack her. You just don't mean to say that. Really? Tell me you don't. Why should I say anything different than I said all playoffs last year, Ryan said. The Globe editor, Martin Barron, said in a statement, Bob Ryan's comments were a clear, egregious violation of the standards of the Boston Globe. And of course, he apologized for all of that. So these are the kind of remarks that Bob Ryan makes on the air that we know about, right? He's kind of off the cuff. He goes crazy. All right. I like people being no filtered. I get it. But this is what happens when we get to judge you in your field. Somebody wants to judge me, I'm cool with that. I'll be perfectly fine with that. And I'll let the cards lay where they may. Bob Ryan, if Shaq is a lazy, undisciplined basketball player, what are you as a basketball fan? How can you totally omit and be lazy about Shaq's dominance when the rules were changed because of Shaq? The zone defense was put in there because the game was about to be too boring because of Shaq. Period. Not Hakeem Olajuwon. Not Michael Jordan. Even Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, they changed the game up as well. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in college, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They banned dunking or whatever it is. They changed the rules for guys like that to go against them. As Will Chamberlain famously told Michael Jordan, they changed the rules to help Michael Jordan. While for Will Chamberlain, they changed the rules to stop Will Chamberlain, right, in the NBA. With Shaq, You had Hacker Shaq. You have too many things that just explain the dominance of Shaquille O'Neal. He went to 6 NBA finals. Again, could he have went to more? Of course. But anybody in your top 20, like these are 6 NBA finals that he's pretty much the leader of. I would say the one with D Wade is the only one that he really wasn't there. As the top dog, clear cut. I think it should be fair to bring things like that up for Bob Ryan. He needs to bleach his teeth. He looks crazy out here in these streets. Bob Ryan, get it together. It's not like he has a rich history of basketball. Like, I respect where he's coming from, just like I respect Shaq. But at the same time, you got to get that business. Pause, Bob Ryan. Who do you think you are? And this is what I mean. These are the guys that ESPN promotes. These are the guys that all the mainstream media had on their television, had on their radio waves for the longest, giving us information. And they're biased for whatever reason. Shaq could be lazy. Same thing with LeBron James. I think there's flaws in his game that prevent him from being better than Michael Jordan, right? So I can see why people have him at number 2 and 3. I get that. But there's no way LeBron James is not the top 3 or 4 player in NBA history at this point. Objectivity lacks in many of us. It's very human of us to lack objectivity. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of being subjective. It happens. But Bob Ryan, you need a better dentist and you need new glasses. Shaquille O'Neal is the most dominant player in the history of the league, including your man's Wilt Chamberlain. This is a fact. Fabian perspective, so expect it and accept it. Signing off. Friendly Fire, ALLBALL TV.